Well, it's kind of interesting. My father was the charter member of the Rotarian Club in Stettler, Alberta.
Oh,
And in 1961, he went to an international convention in St. Louis, Missouri, and I went with him and participated in all the young people's activities. It was a great experience. And that was a very fond memory of Rotary. And incidentally, we also picked up a new car for my dad, so that was just added to the whole experience. So when I had an opportunity when I got out in business, I decided to join Rotary, and I joined the Mayfield Rotary Club because my job was in West Edmonton. And luckily, years went by, and I was fortunate enough to get the car dealership in Spruce Grove. So always wanted to see if we couldn't have a location in Spruce Grove. I kept coming into Edmonton, and it was always hard to do. And that's what kind of drove us to try and get something going in Spruce Grove as far as Rotary was concerned. And the Mayfield Club was the club that kind of sponsored us to get going in Spruce Grove. I was really fortunate my dad was going to be the delegate to the Rotary Convention, and I got to tag along with my mother and my sister. So it was a vacation plus we went to the Rotary Convention, which was I think there was 30 or 40,000 people there in those days. It was a very big deal. The activities they had for youth were more fun activities than real learning about Rotary, because I think at the time I was only 14 years old. So I wasn't really a candidate to be a Rotary person. But it was a great experience. I enjoyed all the functions we went to, and it gave me a basis for Rotary. My father has been a Rotarian until he passed, and he was the original charter member in Stettler, Alberta. So he was a die-hard Rotarian, and that sort of rubbed off on me. Our president at the time, which was Gordon Nichols at Mayfield, asked if I would sort of head out and see if we couldn't get a club going in Spruce Grove. Also, Mayfield was also sponsoring trying to get a club going to Hinton at the same time. And luckily I'd run into Jerry Levasseur, who was a fellow car dealer, and he was quite enthusiastic about the project. So he and I sort of worked hard on it to try and get enough interest with local businessmen, and were able to do so, and contacted Rotary, and sponsored by Mayfield, we were fortunate enough to get a charter for the Spruce Grove Rotary Club. Actually, in Spruce Grove, it was quite easy because there was a lot of fellows who were quite enthusiastic about joining the club, and that was the biggest thing that we needed, was some participants. And then with the direction of Mayfield, they had done this before with another club in Westlock. So they had kind of experience in how to go about getting a charter for our club. So it really wasn't that difficult. And the reason for it was because of the enthusiasm of the people in Spruce Grove. To start the Spruce Grove Rotary Club, it actually was quite easy because there was a real pent-up demand. And basically myself and Jerry at the time, he was a very integral part of it, we just got on the phone and phoned a whole bunch of important people around Spruce Grove, and they were all enthusiastic. And with a little leadership which Jerry and I provided, they all jumped on the bandwagon, and away we went. It was quite easy to do. Good. Anyways, we were fortunate enough to get enough people involved that wanted to join the Rotary Club. We met the criteria of Rotary, and we held our charter night. And we had the district governor come to our charter night. Charter night was a real exciting evening because it was a big thing for all of us people in Spruce Grove. And so we put on a real show. We had a great dinner, we had entertainment, and we had the district governor there who was quite impressed with our enthusiasm. And he presented us with our charter, and off we went. It was interesting. Before we got our charter, Rotary had a president's school in Red Deer. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the school just slightly before we got our charter and learned the different areas that Rotary wanted us to concentrate on. So we had a kind of a kickstart to know what we were supposed to do. However, we were all brand new at it, and I'm sure we fumbled and made lots of mistakes, but we were enthusiastic, and we tried hard to do what Rotary wanted us to do. Well, it's interesting. We for our brand new club, we were the first club that kind of stepped out and got an exchange student as quick as we could. And that was a big deal for us because we honestly didn't know what we were doing in some respects. And our first exchange student came the second year. And I know we looked after one of the exchange students in our house the third year. Exchange students, I think the first exchange student was a girl from Japan. And the second was a young lady from Denmark who's lived in our house for 3 months. And I find that always interesting because she, coming from Denmark, thought she could walk, and we lived in an acreage, walk to the end of the acreage and get on the bus. Fortunately, there was no buses on our acreage. So she had a really interesting year in Edmonton and surrounding areas. And the third student was a boy from Japan, I thought. But the exchange, the students brought a lot to the club, and we enjoyed having them. At the particular time, just after the club got going, the city of Spruce Grove had this land to the west of uh, the downtown area that was designated as a park, but really hadn't been fixed up that well or been looked after that well. The city was kind of reluctant to do anything. So we took it on as our project that we would develop it and eventually make it into an information center for people coming into Spruce Grove to find out what was going on in Spruce Grove. It was about a 2-year project. We sodded, built swings, actually constructed the building through donations from wood. Some of us did physical labor and others of us just solicited materials. But it was a real project and everybody pitched in and helped and we got it built, and I think it's very useful today. I believe it's the housing, the Chamber of Commerce, plus an information center as you come into Spruce Grove from the west. Rotary in a small community like Spruce Grove, which is now a big community, is a great experience because you get to meet a whole bunch of different people from different walks of life, different interests, with all the common goal of serving for Rotary. And it's a great experience. It does take time, unfortunately, and you've got to be dedicated, but it's a great experience for someone to give back to the community and give back to Rotary and give back to the world through the Rotary programs. I always think that Rotary in a community should try and build things that the community needs. You know, like they've got a skateboarding park.
Yes.
And those kinds of things to keep people active in the community instead of having to go somewhere else. Or help build things, soccer fields or whatever. I mean, those are the kinds of things to make the community better. Rotary was a great thing for me in my business career, and I regret that I got it under dealership in Edmonton and couldn't stay closer to the Spruce Grove Club. And I enjoyed it much more than the Mayfield Club when I was with Mayfield. It's a great thing for a young guy or a younger person in business to have the experience of Rotary, and hopefully that experience is still continuing on today.